Is the United States economy headed for what's called stagflation? If you're unsure what that means, we have one case study back in the 70s. We'll talk about the similarities, the differences, and well, what can we expect from the markets, the economy? The jobs numbers came out and they were absolutely abysmal. The worst on record ever in history. Bitcoin sitting at slightly under $111,000. We have BlackRock, President Trump. Everyone's calling for more than just a 25 basis point rate cut. How will the Fed, which way will they go? We'll talk about that. We have MATIC joining us to break down the charts. We're going to talk about one project that if you've been part of our Patreon, you've probably gotten a 3X on already, and there's a lot more to go. We'll talk about which one that is. And big news just dropped, and is Chainlink the biggest beneficiary of what the Bureau of Labor and Statistics has fumbled in terms of the jobs numbers? We'll talk about that and much, much more on today's episode of Sin City Crypto. Let's go.
Hola! I have a mic off there. My natural mic. This one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Natural mic, huh?
That's right.
Cool.
It's your boy Big Rob back in the house. Welcome to Sin City Crypto, home of the entertainment-focused cryptocurrency content. We take old, boring, stale information. We bring you the alpha. We bring you the truth. We do it in a fun way. We don't bore you to death. Other channels suck. We don't. Hi. A lot of weird price action in Bitcoin in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, das ist weird. I'm trying to.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm trying to level up here, man.
You are weird, yes.
What?
Yeah, we saw.
Wait, what'd you say?
You are weird, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We just in the last 12 hours, we've seen Bitcoin go from 111 to 113 down to 110. It's an interesting price action in the last 12 hours.
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
A lot's going on, brother.
You got a rhyme or reason or?
Oh, I got rhymes all day, bro. You know, you've heard me rhyme. Come on, man.
Let's
the king of the remix.
Please, no. Please.
No? You don't want me to spit a couple bars?
Go ahead.
Nah.
Oh.
We'll save it for later. All right. Volatility is the title of your thumbnail. Gina, can we go wide, so people can see the thumbnail on the TV? Look at that. It says volatility, right? We knew this was coming. Jobs numbers were expected today. Well, they're here. Take a look at this. The U.S. Labor Department revises 911,000 jobs to the downside. 1 million jobs. Hey, Rob, I know the budget I gave you for the studio was $15, but it's now $150,000. That's pretty much what we just got. 911,000 jobs out of the data reported in the 12 months ending March 2025. The U.S. job market is far weaker than initially reported. You know, we always, at least me, the last 3 years, as you're like kind of paying attention to some of the economic data, you're just like talking to people around you. You keep seeing these numbers, 300,000 jobs added, 200,000 jobs added. I'm like, where the fuck? Who, where, and how? And well, it was all fudged up numbers. This is another BLS scandal. If you're not familiar, BLS stands for Bureau of Labor and Statistics, or bullshit labor and statistics, I might add. And Trump was absolutely right to fire the commissioner. What this means, there was virtually no job creation in the last year of the Biden admin. The Fed should have started cutting in February. So Trump's been calling Jerome Powell too late, pal. Was he right? It seems like, yes, he was right. He was right. I don't know. So the calls are coming in. President Trump, to no one's surprise, calls for a 50, 75, or maybe even 100 basis point rate cut. Not just Trump, though. The chief investment officer at the largest wealth management company in the world, BlackRock, says the Fed should cut by 50 basis points next week. 50. And what does the CME believe? Well, the CME thinks that still 91.8%. They believe it's going to be a 25 basis point rate cut. Yeah. Where do you think? Should they do 50 or 25? You should do 50.
Do 100. You ask them what they should do.
Don't do 100.
Why not?
100 would be nuts. You don't want to swing too far this way or that way, man. You don't want to cut too fat or cut too big, and you don't want to.
Why not?
You don't
cut
want
big,
to
man.
increase
the monetary system's broken anyways. Fiat don't work. Cut big. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah. Why not?
I mean, honestly.
Yeah. It's a bad idea.
It's like if you have you say you got a dad, right? There's a dad out here.
Yeah.
And he's just ran up so much credit card debt, and he's just spending money left and right. He's just the most degenerate dad out there, right?
Bro, I told you this in confidence.
You know, like he can barely like make ends meet, but then all of a sudden he goes out and like buys a
Toyota Camry. I told you this in confidence,
not a Toyota
man.
Camry. No, I'm saying he buys something like completely like irrelevant. Like, hey, like you know what? I bought a $1,500 go-kart. I'm like, what do you mean you bought a $1,500? Me and the kids are gonna love it. Like,
hey man.
Okay, cool, like awesome. And then next thing you know, he's building a pool in the backyard, and you know he's well intentioned. You know, he's not like spending it on drugs.
He just wants to show his kids a good time.
Yeah. But he's like mortgaging the future. You know, nonetheless.
What if he's terminally ill?
And
what if he's only got 8 months to live?
And then here's the kicker. All of a sudden, he's all like, you know what? We're having a family vacation. We have a family reunion coming up in Florida. It's mean a lot to them, but I just can't afford to do this right now. You know, I can't afford to go there. You know, like you're already like knee deep in shit. You're already like the fiat system's broken. Jerome Powell doesn't know what the hell he's doing. The monetary system's dookie. Nobody's buying bonds. The U.S. economy is not doing well on a global standpoint. Trade is leaving America. Like things are bad. Go ahead and cut rates. Fuck it. You're already in debt. Go to the family reunion. Go take your kids. Go have them meet Gam Gam and Grandpa. You know what I mean? Like you might as well. You're already like this far down the hill. And so I look at it as the U.S. monetary policies are shit. And you know what? Let's be real. Are they actually going to save the economy going 25 basis points to maybe 50? Fuck it. Rip the Band-Aid off. Go 3% down. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? You know what I mean?
Please, if you're out there and you're looking to hire a macroeconomist, do not hire this man. He's calling on the Fed to cut rates 300. Are you high?
I gave you my base case for it. I gave you my reasoning.
That's not a base case.
Why
That's
not? Why?
A garbage case. All right. Stagflation, right? What is stagflation? Are you familiar with stagflation?
Yes.
Okay. So for those not familiar, it's when you have economic contraction, rising inflation, and rising unemployment rate. It puts the Fed in a little bit of a pickle. One of those big mama spicy pickles you got to find at the grocery store. My son loves those, the spicy ones. You know, the big mama pickles. Anyways.
Are you one of those weirdos that get like the chamoy pickles? Like
No, that's my kid.
It's like nasty. It's like some,
I know,
like pink pickle.
Just listening to him eat it is disgusting. Yes,
It's all kinds of like food colorings and
I had to yell at him.
Spices.
I was like, close your mouth when you eat, sicko. Anyways. That's what the Fed is facing. Now, the last time this happened was in the 1970s. And, well, 73, 74, it started, and the stock market kind of went ping pong, right? Went down 25, 30%, 40%, went up. Now, that happened for about a decade, right? Then in the 80s, you had the Paul Volcker, cranked up interest rates to over 20%. And then from 84 and on, the markets really started exploding. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to see a decade of just sideways price action. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. That's not my base case because back then it was a lot different than it is now. And to Rob's point, we're already having inflation. And so the one thing I will tell you, and I was telling a friend of mine, once they start cutting rates and inflation is still above 2.5%, 3%, inflation will rise. And you want to make sure that your majority of your wealth is not in fiat. Right? There's no point in having $100,000 in your bank account when you only need $30,000 for your emergency fund, right? Take that $70K and put it in commodities that are going to gain value over the next decade or 2 decades. And so That would be my recommendation. Now, if shit does hit the fan and, oh my God, everything is bad and unemployment rate rises, inflation rises, well, guess what? The governments love printing their way out of problems. They love putting that short-term Band-Aid on a long-term scar or on a long-term cut. And you take a look at a statistic like this, all-time high, $7.5 trillion is now currently sidelined in money market funds. This is dry powder waiting to flow into Bitcoin. I don't know if it's all, obviously I don't think it's all going to flow into Bitcoin, but it's only like this because the interest rates have been so high, right? Think of this as like a CD. You just earn a consistent 4.5% to 5%. Once rates go down, so will the money market fund rates. Those will go down as well to 2.5%, 3%. At that point, you're not outpacing inflation. So you're losing money by keeping your money in a money market fund. So then you start moving it over to equities and assets, to commodities like gold, like Bitcoin, like silver. And so this is going to happen. And so for those of you that are seeing this economic data and you're looking and you're nervous, you're worried, there might be some short-term pain. But on the other side, we're going to see a massive stock market, crypto market, commodities market rally. And at that point, when that happens, you need to be smart with your taking profits, and you need to be smart with where you take your profits. And so that would be my recommendation to everyone watching. Now, there's a lot of kerfuffle about the data and how we can't depend on it. And it's very true. You have a body like the Federal Reserve who makes their decisions that not only impacts the United States economy, but economies around the entire world, and they base their decisions off of shitty data. I am sorry, but if you have to revise a number by 1 million, that is unacceptable. Imagine if the numbers were correct, and as to, I forget who tweeted it, who posted it, said the Fed should have cut in January or February. That is true. But you're sitting there saying, well, this is the data they went off of, and you can argue they made the right decision. If they had the correct data, would things be differently? Probably yes. This is Chamath Palihapitiya, I hope I said his last name right, on the All In podcast, talking about how to potentially solve the issue of bad data. Take a listen.
I think we need to figure out a way, and this is where Congress should get their act together and pass an incentive or a requirement for certain parts of the critical economic infrastructure of America to report their data in an anonymized way into a broad set of blockchains. And the reason is that you will have very astute and precise pricing oracles help distill that information. So if you're ADP, if you're American Express, if you're Stripe, there's an imperative now for you to contribute the information you have into a broad collection of information so that we have an accurate sense of what the hell is actually going on. Because I can't react to this number because I don't know how it's going to change. It could literally swing by 200,000 in either direction, Jason. I think we need to figure out a way, and this.
So he mentioned multiple blockchains. And when anytime someone mentions doing anything on multiple blockchains, I always think of Chainlink, right? The great connector.
I think it's just not even about connecting multiple blockchains. I think it's just not putting it all on one point of failure.
Okay, then the other side is data feeds and price feeds, which is what Chainlink does.
And we're already seeing it. We're putting, what was it, GDP on like 8 different blockchains. Why do that? Because if one isn't accurate or one goes down or there's compromise somewhere else, then you know what? You got 7 other ones, right?
Yeah.
Or was it 9 different blockchains? Whatever it was.
It was 8 or 9. Yeah.
Yep.
That's all you got?
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great analysis.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about the NASDAQ. Dak Prescott. You like Dak Prescott? You think he's a good quarterback?
Why are we talking football? Raiders won, though.
I said NASDAQ and then Dak Prescott.
You don't need to say it again.
Well, you were confused, so I had to explain it.
I was confused why you're talking football, but
okay. NASDAQ to invest $50 million in crypto exchange Gemini. Huh. We're seeing the integration and the maneuvering of these crypto exchanges, Coinbase, Kraken's out there.
Talked about it last week. if you can't get rid of them, boot them out or
Join them.
Yeah.
Can't beat them, join them. The saying is all this time.
It's not even beat them. It's just like they were trying to like say, hey, stay in your lane. This is us.
And now they're saying,
then crypto's like, hey, we're kicking the door down. So like we're gonna be here at this party. And they're like, okay, fine, he's in here.
Put him on the list.
Yes.
What'd you bring to the party? Beer? Alcohol?
Now they're collaborating to throw the next party, you know?
They brought nothing. Zero. All right. And then I got to share this. This was, well, just take a listen.
You have 500,000 pounds in your account, in your Coinbase account. So all we need is your card number to be able to give you that money, okay?
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Let me just pull over because I'm driving, all right?
Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am, please. So just give me your card details and the 500,000 will be with you right now.
Yeah, okay, let me just pull over. I'm driving a car. Hold on, give me a sec, 1 second. Oh, sorry.
Hello, ma'am.
I just had a car crash.
Oh, ma'am, can you give me your card details?
Sorry, I just had a car crash. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you. Just, can you reach your card?
Can you read your
No, I just had a car crash. I lost my legs.
Well, you're breathing and talking, so I'm sure you're gonna be fine, ma'am. So if you can give me your card details, I'll be able to help you.
The lady said, I lost my legs. I can't feel my legs. I lost my arms. I'm bleeding everywhere. Can you still reach your card? Oh, man. Guys, be careful out there. A lot of scams, a lot of hacks. Yeah. All right. We got our man Magic joining us to break down the charts. My boy looking spiffy today. Magic, welcome back, man. You look very colorful today.
I think you're muted, or I don't know if muted on our side.
Well, let's see.
There we go.
Yeah,
Magic.
good.
What's up with the
What's going
shirt? Tell me more.
I bought this with a matching pair of shorts like a long time ago. I wear them when I'm around my kids.
Okay.
I'm at the age where embarrassing my children's important to me. So it's affectionately called a not romper because it looks like a romper because they blend in so well. But it's actually a shirt and a pair of shorts. So.
It's not romper.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Like you're gonna like do a guest cameo on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Ooh, love that show. What a good show.
Actually, there's a clothing line. I collect vintage clothing. Like I'm wearing Barcelona 92 Jordan shorts right now. And it's Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And they actually have their own like line. I've got a couple of those shirts upstairs too. They're pretty cool.
That was such a good show. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Nostalgia. You go back and watch it, it's pretty cringe.
No, it's a good show.
No.
Dr. Phil.
It's like one of those.
Not Dr. Phil. Uncle Phil.
It's like people
Uncle
always
Phil,
attribute nostalgia as like it's amazing. Like people are like, oh man, you know what? Like Nintendo was the best. You know, the regular Nintendo, the very first Punch Out, it's the best game ever. You play it for like 3 minutes and you're like, I can't do this anymore. It's just like this
That's
isn't
just because
this
you're
isn't
weak-minded,
good.
bro.
No.
Yeah.
N64 GoldenEye. That's where it's at.
Ooh.
That's peak.
Yeah, but they didn't even have the access. You couldn't even like look up and down. It was all audio.
Yeah, it's
for
called,
you, man.
it's called
like,
video
I'm just
games.
saying, like they can't compete with today's
Yeah,
technology.
okay.
That's all it is. So
Magic, we opened the show talking about macro, the economy, stagflation, the jobs numbers. I'm curious, do you have like a macro chart? I don't know, like NASDAQ, the Dow, anything that tells you, how are investors reacting to the jobs news? Part of me is saying, everyone's thinking the economy is doom and gloom. Maybe the market's going down, and maybe people are like, yeah, this is pretty shitty, which means the Fed is going to start cutting heavily. Anything indicate what way the traders and the investors are leaning based off of price action and chart on any chart really that's relative to macro data?
Kind of. I mean, I don't get too much into the doom and gloom stuff, but what I will say is there are some things that are flashing. And I don't think it's necessarily that we should be looking at things in terms of like, where's the top going to be and where's the bottom going to be. I think it should just be more appropriately placed as, how much risk is in the market right now. So the valuations of stocks, I'm sure you guys have covered that, they're at like all-time highs. They're past 1929. They're past the 992000.com. The real question is, you have the Magnificent Seven. They account for over 90% of the gains right now in terms of S&P 500. If you take out those, it's relatively flat. So the question is, does that correlate to, other crashes? But really what it's telling you is that risk is high. And if you were to plot those data points with, information like that, you can see that it's near the top. The other thing I would say is that if you looked at when rates are being cut, which they were cut, I think in 06 is when they started making cuts before the 08 crash. Typically rate cuts, once the rate cycle has peaked, is when you're going to either get your peak or shortly after, or you're just going to start seeing downside. Because you can see that rates had peaked back in here. So again, we're not looking at this as, is this the exact top? What we're looking at it as is, how much risk is in the market? Does it make sense for me to be, going full bore with every dime when you're this close? So do I think the jobs numbers are important? Yes. I do think that, I've always said that they were going to cut rates at this meeting no matter what. And that jobs data, if it was really strong, may even prevent them from doing so. But unfortunately, it's very weak. And seeing a 50-point basis cut is not going to be good. And traditionally speaking, when they do cut rates the first time anyway, you're probably going to see some downside. So as long as Bitcoin remains below that 115 area that we've outlined, I would look at it similarly. Now, does that mean long-term it's going to turn into something like this? Nobody really knows that. You could still see another push, obviously. But to me, that's how I'm looking at data. There's a lot of things that are similar. Maybe this time is different, but when you look at the federal funds rate peaking, you look at that home ownership for people, that are full-time employed above 30 is at like all-time lows. Concentration of returns, we're not really sure what to make of that, if that's good or bad yet. But stock valuations overall are up. So yeah, there's a lot of risk in the market, and typically that's going to pop eventually. Maybe it pushes a little higher, but is the juice worth the squeeze is the question. Things like gold will do well. If you guys remember from 08, gold actually ripped during the 08 crisis. It was going up while this was all happening. And I think it went up like 140 or 130%. And gold is doing exceptionally well right now. Also kind of indicating that, people are looking for more safe haven assets. The real question is Bitcoin going to actually be gold? Is Bitcoin going to be the digital gold we've compared it to? So, that's where I'm at. Or does it fall more in line with like stocks and valuations, like, you were saying the Dow and NASDAQ, things like that?
You know what, Magic? Gold over the last, 8 months or so, or 12 months, has been kind of going up. And everyone was always like, I kept hearing gold is trying to tell us something. Gold knows something, people. And I feel like this is what they knew, was the jobs data was fucked. And so, and I told people before you came on, Magic, if we are in fact in another era of stagflation, which we saw back in the 70s leading into the 80s, where economic growth slows, inflation and unemployment rises, the Fed is kind of in a spot, right? And I told people, we'll get one more rally. I don't know, one more rally, two more rallies, whatever, as they print their way out of it. But I told people, when you take your profits, make sure you're smart and take them into assets that are going to accrue value against whatever inflation we see, whether that's 3%, 5%, or I don't know, maybe 7, 8, 9% like we saw in June of 2022. You mentioned, the rate cuts, 25, 50. My co-host Rob here thinks it's a good idea for them to just do 100 or 300 basis point rate cut. I was like, I almost called him the R word, but I chose not to. But that's just a really stupid. I try to tell people, like, big swings one way or the other, whether it's cuts or whether it's rate hikes, is not good, right? Any shock to the market is not good in the short term.
You would see a massive pump and then a huge dump.
Yep.
You would see it both ways, I think. I think that would actually shoot markets way up, get a bunch of people in, and just give it all back very quickly.
All back, in my opinion, plus some. That would be my base case. And then it would just be everyone sitting and waiting for what are they going to do next? What's going to happen? So, all right. Magic, I got a Bitcoin short in. My TP is at 110,670. What are you seeing on the BTC chart, Magic? I'll tell you what, man. For all the bullshit we've seen and all the whale selling and the outflows from the ETFs and all this gloom and doom with the economy, for Bitcoin to be over $110,000, I don't know. I think that's pretty good. What are your thoughts and what are you seeing on the Bitcoin chart? Do you think more downside is likely, or do you think maybe the local bottom at like 109 is in?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. So in terms of Bitcoin, I'm on the monthly chart for anyone that's at home. I know if you're watching on your phone, sometimes it's hard to see everything. So this is the monthly chart, and I'm bringing it up because we talk about this week over week. It's kind of how I've started structuring my analysis for my own trades in terms of bias, just for like short term, medium term, and maybe even long term at some point. But what you can see is we took the previous month low right here. So we've made a new low this month. The reason that is important is we know, statistically speaking, we bring it up every week, you don't have many inside candles on a chart like this. This is your last one here where you didn't make a high or a new low from the previous month. So you can see here, you've made a new high, you made a new high, and now we've made a new low. So it's not going to be an outlier. But what it does tell us is we need to work off of the previous month data and look towards the EQ of that. And if the EQ or the 50% mark, however you want to describe it, is claimed, it's more probable to make a new high. Now, since you've already made a new low, that actually just becomes kind of a take profit for a long, and you would have to zoom into like a weekly. So yeah, Bitcoin staying back above this monthly open is going to be key. Locally, you're going to have to zoom into this weekly. We did not take the high here. So it's still more probable we make a new high on this right here at like 113,353. You can see we've left it by just a little bit. So we know with these, again, you're only going to see about 10 weekly candles that are inside bars throughout the course of a year. So probability says that we're either going to make a new low, which is below 107, or we're going to make a new high above 113. You're going to want to hold on to the EQ. So all you got to do is take your fib, put it here. 50% mark is 110,236, kind of in line with where you're looking at in terms of a take profit. When you start looking at other things that are there, like your weekly open, where's my monthly open, things like that, putting in these previous week and previous month areas to get a bias, we can say that if that 110 region that you're targeting is lost, it's more probable that it's going to go lower. So it is an inflection zone. It's a very important one at that. And if you go out to like a daily time frame, you can see this is also where your last like daily settle up is, where, you know, candles tried to make a reversal here. If it were to fail at this level, this EQ, I would at least expect this low at 109,284, but I would probably be more in line with a bounce at the monthly open, but then looking for potentially a new monthly low, which becomes more in line with me in the 6-month standard deviations. So standard deviations for the last 6 months of price action. So it ended on June 30th of this year. If we were to go ahead and just, you know, put those on the chart and play them out, for the next 6 months. These are levels for 6 months for us in the group. You can see it's been the highs and the lows pretty well. You'd be living below the +2. You've given it up pretty convincingly. And if you were to make a new low, you'd be looking down to like 106. But my eyes do start to shift more towards like 96 at that point. It would be the bi-quarterly level. So right now I'm pretty neutral. I'm not in any positions. I either want to see higher for a potential short trade because I'm not doing the intraday stuff that you're doing. But if I want a long, I've already taken this long and taken profits. I'm really only interested in either longing here or down here. And I'm really only interested in shorting here or letting it go higher and letting my spot assets, you know, that are exposed to risk still, you know, take on that. So that's where I'm at on a trading and investing standpoint, is I'm really not buying too much Bitcoin up here. I think that the risk is very high. And if I was to buy more, it's going to have to come from lower areas that just make more sense.
Magic, just out of my curiosity, how many trades do you think you take on a monthly basis?
Now, maybe like 5 to 10, to be honest with you. One of my goals was to take fewer than 100 trades in a year. I used to take hundreds of trades a month. If you guys follow me on Twitter, I used to post my Bybit, like all my trades and stuff, and it'd be like 350 in a month. That requires a lot of time at the chart. I've got kids, a family. I'm down 30 pounds since doing that, which is good. It's good for the health. So it is one of those things where my goal was less time at the chart. And, you know, one of the things I'll say is that is in line with these deviations. That's one of the reasons I made them, was it's giving me levels for 6 months, but I also do it for the halving and I do it for the year. And I've back tested these with specific entries where like this would have been a long entry. And we talked about it when it happened. You're looking for a tag of a standard deviation on a yearly basis. You want to see a daily swing failure pattern, which you've seen. And then you're just looking to run a 3 or 4 to 1 trade off of that, off of the closure here. So you'd have longed this open. And how that works is so you're really only clocking into the chart like once a day, and you might not trade for a while, and that's okay. You know exactly where your take profit's going to be. It's going to be at 115. And you know that your stop loss can be worked out just basically by, risk reward, because now you've put yourself in a position where you're going to spend very little time on the chart. And even if you went with a 3 to 1 instead of a 4 to 1, you can win 40% of these trades and still come out, smelling like a rose long term, because the risk to reward is good. You've invested very little time. For me, I'm more concentrated on picking up assets that are low risk that I can hold long term and building something that maybe I can make it more of a dividend income on.
Smart.
That doesn't mean I'm going to liquidate all my Bitcoin. It's just one of those things where I think it's smart at this stage to maybe start looking into that. And really targeting, hey, if things are really, really risk on right now, maybe instead of buying gold, which I've been buying gold, not now, but previously I'd been buying gold. I'm more so stacking cash. And I know that's counterintuitive to inflation, but the reason I am is because I'm not looking at that cash as a safe haven. I'm looking at it as, fuel for when assets are cheap, I can buy them. And then the inflation's really not going to bother me as much. It's not like I was holding it for 10 years.
Yeah.
I was maybe holding it for a year or two, and then I go into something that's going to accrue in value over time and pay me. So that's kind of where I'm at.
That's solid, dude. That's a solid strategy, man. Honestly. All right, Magic. There's I'm gonna give share news on this in a little bit, probably once we let you go. Sure. But before I let you go, I'd like to ask you. There is a stablecoin infrastructure play. It's called the THETA. The likes of Arthur Hayes and a lot of the institutions, they're an institutional stablecoin infrastructure play. And it is up. It's something I've been talking about for a while. I'll share some news on it here in a second. But from a PA standpoint, Magic, ENA, what are you seeing on the chart? This thing got all the way down to like 25 cents. I loaded up at like 27, 30 cents. My last buy was around 42 cents. What's the price action tell you or look like on that chart, Magic? And can you give us some support and resistance levels?
Yeah, not a ton of history. We're on the weekly chart, but it's not bad. You've got the higher low. It looks like you were talking about around 25 cents. You are attempting to set up some kind of a base here above prior support and resistance. So that's always a good sign. What you really want to see is that if price is going to be making any kind of a retracement here in the market, you just want to see that these levels are holding, mainly because, if you lose this, there's a lot of downside that you could find yourself in. You can see it was kind of relevant when it made its low. And so now you're here. So you want to see this become support and resistance. And after that, you're almost targeting the all-time high. There's not a ton of history here, as I've said. But if you wanted a concrete level that you need to be back above for an all-time high, I would say that this is a good start right here, maintaining the zone of 59.38 to 63.98 cents on a weekly closing basis, of course. Like this isn't like a 4-hour chart or anything. But you've failed to close above 132, 1, 2, 3, 4 different times as you approached it on a weekly. So if you were to reapproach that, you'd probably want to see that number claimed for at least immediate upside. And you could really start moving the ball down on things like a monthly chart here and saying $1 on a monthly basis. Like maybe you get to $1.32 and reject. Well, if you close the monthly above $1, you can start using that as kind of your base case of, okay, for immediate upside, I want to see $1 become very important to me. So it's a nice psychological number, but I would expect to see $1 challenged here probably. $1 first, then 132. So we're at 81 cents. That's a 19% move to the upside. That's really not bad. As long as you're hanging on to just call it the monthly open and the monthly low for September.
So would that kind of be like the buy zone, Magic, that little blue box you had?
Yeah,
if someone is bullish and wants to maybe buy on a retrace?
I would rather it not go there right now, just based on the structure of it, because it may just take all these lows, but it may just be a wick is the thing. But yeah, this is the base case of where support needs to be found. And so, I always say, keep things simple. You want to buy support and trade resistance. So it is one of those things where, yeah, if it revisited here, you'd certainly want to start looking for entry triggers and things that make sense if you have a system in place to buy. Because if lost, you might be looking for quite a while inside of this. You'd start targeting these highs, obviously, to see if there's anything else there in confluence that would give you some support. But yeah, I mean, this would be an area if it's going to range here and put some kind of a formation in. You never know. Like, I don't like to pattern trade much, but it happens all the time where you see something like this and people will say this is a double top, and maybe, it does something like this and then turns into like a triangle, right? And so anything can happen. So you don't want to speculate too much. So you just need to know that this area will be important if reached, and this area is also very important if reached. I'm probably not buying this area, right? Yeah. If I'm looking at something here and I'm looking more locally, I prefer to do things off of like a weekly basis when I'm looking for key areas. So what I would be doing is looking into more of like a monthly or a weekly chart and saying, okay, where does it make sense for me to buy? I know the weekly open would probably precipitate that move down into this zone. So I would say anywhere from the weekly open up is where I want to be looking for an immediate buy. If I'm like uber bullish and I think it's going to $1 first, that's probably where I'm looking. Just make sure your risk is in check, because if you lose this, weekly open here where the candle doesn't really have much of a low, you're probably coming down into that like 63-cent range, which is your second zone to be eyeballing.
Awesome. Magic, as always, my friend, we appreciate you joining us. Any parting words, anything you'd like to say to the people? And if they want more Magic, where can they find you?
You find me on Twitter. You can join Discord if you want. That's fine too. You don't have to pay or anything. Get in and you can chat me up in the free channels, all that stuff. But yeah, I don't really have anything, man. Just, guys, have a plan. That's it. That's all I try to say every week is make a plan. Even if it's wrong, that's okay. Just have one. Because ideally that plan is good for you in terms of risk, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. I mean, how could you make correct decisions if you don't even have a goal or a plan? So I agree. I do have Magic's Discord pinned to the top of the comment section. Magic, as always, it's an absolute pleasure, my friend. And we look forward to seeing you again next week. And then, yeah, have a great week, brother. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you guys. Thank you.
Take care. All right. So since we kind of ended on the subject of Athena, by the way, I've known two Athenas. One was this really, really old Spanish server who got me in trouble because one time I said, Bobby Flay isn't really nice, and I was working at his restaurant. Then the other Athena I know was a transgender guy or lady. Nothing wrong. It's just the people I knew, and just. Anyways, okay. Athena, one of my. I don't know how that had anything to do with Athena, but hey guys. So this is one of my larger stablecoin plays. Athena's USDE set to debut on Binance with $12 billion of supply. If I can get this haptic mouse, come on. I'm like stroking them. There we go. All right. Set to debut on Binance with $12 billion supply. Now, this has implications. Backed by Bitcoin, ETH, and other stablecoins, USDE has grown into the largest non-fiat backed digital dollar, with a supply topping $12 billion in August, making it the third largest stablecoin behind Tether and Circle. ENA fee switch activated. Take a look at this. The listing carries big implications for Athena's governance token. With all prerequisites met, which includes $6 billion supply, $250 million in revenue, and listings on top exchanges, Athena can now activate its fee switch. This mechanism, which is highlighted by Arthur Hayes, which, by the way, has been rapidly accumulating ENA, paves the way for up to $500 million worth of ENA buybacks. So I'm gonna toot my own horn here a little bit. I'm gonna shamelessly shill my Patreon. Now, I know I don't post all the time. Okay, I can post some fluff. I can post some bullshit. I choose not to. I choose to post things that I do in real time. Like if I'm buying a lot, like I had a post about one AI agent that I was rapidly accumulating. And before I was hitting the buy button, I was telling the Patreon people. I also give them my thoughts on the macro. And so Here's an example. So this was back on the 10th of February where, I told our Patreon members, hey, I think ENA is a great spot buy, massive negative funding rates for the past 7 to 10 days. Already have a long position, but I also added it to more to my spot bag. And well, the 10th of February is right here, and ENA was at 46 cents. Then we had this as well. This is on April 3rd. This is when the markets were going down, and kind of said, look, hone in on 3 narratives. One of them was stablecoin, and well, Athena was in there as well. And again, that was April 3rd, and April 3rd was essentially the very bottom. It was at 29 cents. That's what ENA was at, 29 cents on April 3rd. So my point here is, those of you that are paying the $20 to be an insider, I hope you're following some of these plays and making money. Those of you that are not, well, we don't hit them all the time, but we are pretty good at hitting some good plays. And so big thanks to our Patreon members. We appreciate every single one of you. And thank you for supporting the channel. ENA, guys, obviously now, you guys know my saying, right? I don't like to jump on a train moving 100 miles an hour. This train ride will come to a stop and consolidate. Maybe it's around this zone. Maybe it's not. I would like it to be above 73 cents. And so if you're looking and your time horizon is past 4 years, then accumulating at levels like 75 cents, 78 cents, maybe even 80 cents might not be that bad of an idea. Again, if your time horizon is more than just this cycle. If you're looking for this cycle and a flip, maybe get a 2, 3, 4x, I would wait to see where Athena comes down and consolidate, because it will come down and consolidate. Nothing goes up forever. But I'm telling you guys, things are brewing, and this is just the beginning. Getting a listing on Binance is pretty massive. Fee switch, 500 million in buybacks, pretty massive. Tokenomics are kind of shit. Let's take a look at the tokenomics of Athena. Fully diluted market cap is sitting at 12 billion. There's only circulating supply is only 45%. Oh, it's actually more than what I thought it was. It's 45%. So 15 billion max. Now it does have a max cap, which again is 15 billion. And currently 6.88 is currently circulating. And so again, I've been buying since, 24, 25, 29 cents. 42 cents was my last buy. I haven't added to my spot bag recently. But hey, those of you that did, I think we're going to make pretty good money on this one. Rank number 26. We'll see once those that 400 million in buybacks, once that starts gearing up, we'll see what'll happen. This is Scott Bessent talking about AI, artificial intelligence. This is another massive vertical that I've been talking about. And let's take a listen to what this says.
Yeah. And I think there's a very good chance. Yeah.
Might a little more juice on this one, G. Gracias.
Yeah. And I think there's a very good chance with this AI boom that we're seeing, we're going to see the productivity kick in as soon as the first quarter of next year. So I think everyone who's setting policy at the Fed, whether it's the board, the regional bank presidents, the staff, should have a bit of an open mind here.
Well, that's a great point, given the AI situation today and how it will change everything, growth numbers across the board and certainly business in general. Real quick before you...
So Scott Bessent knows, at this point, everyone knows, right? Every human being knows that artificial intelligence is going to be massive. It's only going to keep growing, okay? Are you positioned to make money on the AI boom? Look at a project like BitTensor. I know I talk about it all the time. It's slipped down the rankings. Let's take a look at where BitTensor is. I think it's like number 39. Wedged between Ethereum Classic and, well, Near Protocol. One thing I will note, right? We take a look at some of the, tokenomics. 21 million Tau ever in existence, with currently 9.83 circulating. Tokenomics, very similar and identical to Bitcoin. It does have its first ever halving in about 98 days, okay, where emissions get cut in half. Just like Bitcoin, with the halving, it gets cut in half. Tau halving, right, will cut emissions by half. And you look at, if you just go to the website and you look at the different subnets and what they're doing, Dynamic Tau so far has been a disappointment. I do think that is going to change. They're talking about raising the cap from 128 to 256 subnets. I don't know if that's a good idea. They're talking about let's bring in quality versus just quantity. I kind of tend to agree with that. And so there's a lot happening behind the scenes. And this is usually what happens. Athena is a great example. Price action either scares people or bores people to death, and people fail to see what is actually happening behind the scenes. Same thing with Tau. People are looking at the price action. Oh, look at the last 1 month. It's down 15%. Look at the last 1 year. It's only up 23%. Okay? And I wish I had a 3 month. Can I go 3 month here? No. And so people are either, it's like, oh man, I don't know, it's kind of scary, or they're bored, like, oh, this is doing nothing. Let me take a little bit of an L. Let me take a 30% haircut. Let me move my money into something that's got more velocity and is moving the way I want it to move. And then this happens, right? And then this happens. 250% move since July. And then you start seeing it move like, oh, fuck, man. Why did let me get back in. Let me get back in. You get back in at the wrong time, and then you're down again. So what I tell people, if you believe in a project, if you believe in what its utility and use case is, and you believe in the vertical that is trying to solve those issues, then just hang tight. Unless something changes your fundamental thesis, then sure, then you can pivot and move. BitTensor, my thesis has not changed. Athena, my thesis has not changed. AAVE, my thesis has not changed. Virtuals Protocol, my thesis has not changed. There's other ones, my thesis has changed, and I've made those moves. And so what I tell people is, do your research, make your investments, and just hold strong. Keep doing research, keep keeping up, right? Watch channels like ours. You'll get updates on stuff. And if at any point something changes to your investment thesis, then you can, react. Hey, listen, the next 10% move or whatever, I'm gonna level out, DCA out. Whatever that case is, whatever you decide to do, just don't irrationally sell something because the price action is negative or the price action is boring. Especially if everything is still in place to where you were looking at before you invested in the project. All right. That'll do for the live show today. I want to thank you all very much for tuning in. Big thank you to Mr. MIM, Magic Internet Money. Come back tomorrow for another live show here at Sin City Crypto. And I know a lot of people asking about the Mance interview. I'm going to get with our editing team after the show, and I'll get you guys an update on tomorrow's live. But we're excited. It's going to be really, really good. It'll be worth the wait. I got a little glimpse. You guys are going to get blown away. Nothing like we've ever done on this channel. So you guys are going to be happy. It's going to be great. It was a great interview, and so make sure you sub to the channel. And with that being said, Gina, thank you. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Sin City Crypto. Cassius Cuvée. Yeah. Sin City Crypto. Everybody know we here for entertainment and info. Gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in for big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I spit the game, but they gave it. Named according to your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy the dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win. Screaming hola till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya to the moon and to the solar. Won't I? Don't be letting FOMO control ya. It's over when the finger tornado close ya.